We're joined now by Jon Ossoff, the Democratic candidate for Congress in Georgia's 6th Congressional District, where the voting will start tomorrow morning. Votes will be counted here tomorrow night. Jon Ossoff, thank you very much for joining us tonight on this, your last night of campaigning. I want to go to something that the president tweeted today when he tweeted directly at you, as it were. The first thing he said, the first point he made is that you do not live in the district that you're running in. Why don't you live in that district? And how far from that district do you live, and what will you do if you win?
Good evening, Lawrence. Thank you for having me. Well, I grew up in the 6th Congressional District. I live about 2 miles south of the line while my fiance finishes medical school at Emory University. She walks to work in the morning, and we're down there so she can walk to work for early morning shifts at the hospital.
And has this been an issue as you talk to voters in the district, the fact that you're living 2 miles over the line?
Actually, I think folks are pleased to understand that I'm supporting my fiance, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm supporting her career, even if I take some political heat for it.
Let's go to the second thing in the president's tweet. He said that Jon Ossoff just wants to raise taxes.
Yeah, well, I'm honored that the president is so interested in the race, but he's deeply misinformed about my priorities, and I will invite him again, as I've invited him in the past, to check out my website, electjon.com, if he wants an accurate accounting of my position on the issues. I don't support any tax increases. What I support is an economic policy that will help Metro Atlanta become an economic powerhouse that's the envy of the rest of the country. It'll help us grow our high-tech, biotech, and medical research sectors and become the Silicon Valley of the South.
All right, and let's deal with the president's tweet in its entirety. His final item, he says about you, is that Jon Ossoff wants to, quote, kill health care.
In fact, what I want is some bipartisan action to make health care and health insurance more affordable and to improve access. Unfortunately, what Congress has seen fit to do is to pass a bill, as you know, that'll throw more than 20 million Americans off their health insurance, that'll gut essential protections for Georgians with pre-existing conditions. It's bad for women, it's bad for older Americans, and it's an example of what happens when career politicians in Washington are more concerned with partisan objectives than serving the public interest. This bill, which my opponent Karen Handel supports, is deeply unpopular in this district, and folks want to see the parties work together on some solutions that are going to make health care more accessible and more affordable.
What's more important in this race, the health care bill as an issue, or President Trump?
Well, I think what voters are hungry for is fresh leadership that's not going to get mired in gridlock in the partisan circus in Washington. And with this atmosphere of scandal and disarray and gridlock in D.C., with in the administration continuing to decline, voters are hungry for representation that's going to be focused on improving their quality of life by focusing on local economic development, by focusing on access to health care, particularly for women and those with pre-existing conditions. There's so little happening in Washington right now that serves the needs of people, and they want representation that'll work across the aisle to do that.
There's been a lot of talk about Karen Handel's association with President Trump. She is saying that you are, quote, handpicked by Nancy Pelosi.
Well, I started this campaign in my living room, and I think that if that's the best that my opponent can trot out, then I'm feeling pretty good about the outcome tomorrow.
Jon Ossoff, do you think this is going to be an early call tomorrow night? How long? These polls are basically showing a tie. This could go very late tomorrow night.
It could go very late. It is a true neck-and-neck race, Lawrence. It's a nail-biter. And that means it's going to come down to turnout. I just left a rally with about 300 volunteers who are going to be working so hard to get out the vote for the next 24 hours. And it's important, if you're in Georgia and you're watching, to make your voice heard tomorrow. You can find out where and how to vote at electjon.com/vote. But it's critical that everyone's voices be heard. It's going to be such a close race.
Jon Ossoff, thank you very much for joining us on your last night of campaigning. Really appreciate it. The polls close at 7 o'clock tomorrow in Georgia. We will have live coverage of those voting results as they come in tomorrow night. We'll be right back.